It's a very special surprise episode with a special guest. Some of you may remember her. Those of you who smoke a lot of pot may still remember her, or you may not because you smoke a lot of pot. But it's all going to happen right here on RulaskaThoughts. Cue the sniper girl. Today we have an actual girl, and we will read the Queens for filth. I just realized nothing rhymes with filth, and so we'll cue the sniper girl. Well, first, before we bring on our special guest, let's bring on my own personal podcast girlfriend. He's the one that was so attractive that Jamila fell out of her chair when he turned his camera on. It's the one, the only Miss Roberta Mata. Hello, Robert.
Hey, Joe. You just spilled the tea on who our special guest was by saying her
did
name.
I? Oh, okay. Well, then let's bring her on. She's the person I call when anything black happens in social media. It's the one, the only Jamila. Hello, Jamila. Jamila from Atlanta.
Jamila from Atlanta, and that's not true that nothing rhymes with filth.
What?
You got MILF. Hello.
Oh, that's a soft rhyme. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Which is what I call Robert. He's the Mexican I'd like to fuck.
Girl.
Actually, it's funny.
Me too.
I don't. What's funny? I don't really say that. I don't really feel that, and so like it went to a dark place. But you have to honor the joke. But
Sure.
It's funny. Jamila and Robert immediately hit it off. They signed on, and they hit it off right away, which I think was a really good sign.
Yeah, I mean we're two POCs who love sad white music.
Who doesn't bond over a Death Cab concert, really?
Yes.
Well, no, I'm a POC loves sad white music, but it's all from the 1940s.
Okay. You love the loop?
Bottle up.
No, I was singing and listening with some old people to Cry Me a River, and I was like, oh, this is a great song. Anyway. So,
Is that not a Justin Timberlake song?
No, that's before Justin Timberlake. This is pre-Justin Timberlake. Not everything is Justin Timberlake. So, speaking of Jamila, you're black. What do you think of this Justin Timberlake backlash and everything like that? Because there are a lot of things that were like black appropriation that he was doing. What are your? And you also like white music, so I think
do.
you're particularly suited to weigh in on this.
Yes. Justin Timberlake is a terrible person. I think we can all admit that what he did to Janet is just unforgivable. However, when he was making music with black producers and black writers, it was, we could let it pass. We could let it slide. The music was good. The dancing was good. But now he's older. And as white men tend to age like avocados, it's like you're losing the hotness. He's no longer hot. He's no longer dancing at the same quality that he was in 2004. And the music sucks. And, he's out here getting DUIs. Cheating on his wife with black co-stars in New Orleans. It's just he's just a mess.
Well, also because you lived in DC. Are you from DC originally?
I'm born and raised in DC. I lived in New York for 12 years, and now I'm in Atlanta. So I have only lived in places with high black populations.
But because is this a joke because you're high all the time, or because there's a lot of
I've only lived in. I'm saying high black. High. No,
her eyes are perfectly white right now. No bloodshot to be seen.
Anyway, but then also wasn't there controversy where he was at a concert, and I think it was a dance that's particularly DC based, right?
Yes.
He did a horrible version.
If anyone hasn't seen this video, the style of music in DC that we listen to is called go-go, and it's very unique. It's one of the only kind of hip hop genre of music, subgenre of music that uses like full live instruments, drums, bass. I love go-go. I was raised on it, but there's a dance in go-go called Beat Your Feet. And he attempted to do it. I guess it was his way of saying like, I'm in DC, like, let me pay homage, but he should have learned how to do it first. Because it was god awful, and but I mean, good thing it was mostly probably white people at the concert. They didn't know. They had no idea.
That's probably true. Robert, you want to weigh in here? I know you like to talk about black people.
I just never saw it for Justin Timberlake. He had that whole bringing sexy back era. I didn't think he ever had sexy to bring back. He didn't bring any. It wasn't it for me. But I also, despite being a little gay boy in the early 2000s, I just never gave a fuck about any of the boy bands. You know what I mean? Like the whole Backstreet Battles on the playground, the NSYNC wars. It just wasn't my gig. So
Yeah,
I've never really gotten it.
I have this thing where like I can't have attraction to thin-lipped men.
Stop.
You should see
Robert,
my Hinge list of matches.
All Robert dates. That's literally Robert's jam right there.
My
I
jam
just
is
can't.
white-ish passing Latinos, actually.
Oh, okay.
Is it though?
Well, I mean,
You're into the
the
Cubans.
older I get, the more I expand outwards, obviously, but that's my most natural setting.
Because he eats a lot. He was a lot thinner when he first started. Okay, but we're not. Before we go to the break, let's actually talk because I want to focus on after the break on the episode. But Jamila is joining us here on episode 3. I would have had her on. She has an open invitation to come on here anytime she wants. But
Yeah, please.
particularly because you actually like this season, and Robert and I have, even though I don't know if you heard, Jamila hasn't heard the latest episode yet. I may have turned the corner, but what people have heard, I haven't liked this season. So what do you think, Jamila?
Yeah, no, I love this season. I just love the fact that I started watching Drag Race and All Stars too. So I kind of got a late start. But this to me just has such a great evolution of not just the show, but also the Untucks. I love the Untucked now. I love that they're able to like split up and have like factions where we're getting like to see different stories. I think the only thing that I am over is the dunk tank.
Oh, okay.
I really wish they would stop it because it's like we know it's contrived. We know that Hormona Lisa was gonna stay no matter which lever she pulled, and we know that box-faced lady. See, Joe, I told you I don't remember people's names.
Box-faced lady. Michelle Visage?
No.
Lucky Stars?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes.
We knew that she was going to
wears
go.
a box. Okay, yeah.
Well, because she, like, out of drag, she has a very boxy face. But she looks like one of the villains from Space Jam.
Oh, damn. That is
The Monstars.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to drag
Go ahead, I
people's
don't
looks out of drag. But yeah, I'm just sick of that whole device. It's tired, and I hope it's not like it's chocolate.
It's gonna be like that.
It's very clunky.
It's
See,
super
Robert,
clunky.
I think it's this show. I think it's our podcast because she came on here, started I love this show, and ended her statement with how much she hates this one element of the show.
Yes, it just take it away. Just get rid of it. We don't need it. But other than that, I think the season's fantastic. I feel like the people who have problems on the show, the problems aren't manufactured, they're justified. Like, people are justified in hating Hormona Lisa, and people are justified in hating Joella. Like, Lana Del Gay, lingerie is totally justified in how she feels. And so I think, even the delusional queens are entertaining, at least, and I think the right queen got the chop on the last episode. And so, yeah, I just think everything is the train is running as it should. I feel like in this season, the dunk tank has got to stop.
Robert, what do you say? How do you respond to this? Because you're an award-winning Stanford debater.
Oh my God.
And so she's made her argument. How would you pick it apart and tell her how she's wrong?
Well, I think I was sipping the haterade. I was really glugging the haterade pretty heavily last week. I thought it was literally the worst episode, and my feelings have not changed on that matter. But I think that I have settled in to accept two things. One, this is still going to be Drag Race Junior, and I should adjust my expectations accordingly. And two, I also need to remember that the show's just not made for me anymore. When I first started watching it, it was made for, gays of color and other queer people.
Oh,
But
I
it's
see what
just
you mean.
not any. It's just the intended audience is different. Everything's the storylines. They're meant for the heterosexual Emmy audience.
Oh, I see
So
what you're saying.
I can't come into the show with the attitude that it's ever going to reach its heights and therefore judge it on that quality and judge it as it is. And I think tempering my own expectations, I enjoyed the most recent episode a hair more than I did the previous ones. I still fucking hated it, but I appreciate Jamila's appreciation of it, and Joe, I appreciated your energy on the recap because I got to see other perspectives other than me stewing in my room being like, ugh, these bitches again.
I do want to go ahead.
I am the heterosexual Emmy audience, so
Okay.
I can understand. I can understand what you're saying.
Robert
can
can't too because he has a
understand
friend who
how
has an EGOT.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
It's not
What's
true.
your-
It's a long-standing
Okay.
miscommunication.
Does he have an Emmy?
He does have an Emmy.
Yeah.
And Joe
Okay.
loves when I clarify that it's a daytime Emmy.
Yeah. So anyway, what I was going to say is I'm going to push back on Robert a little bit. It has not really pushing back on Robert. I think he's right fundamentally. But I think where the producers are wrong is this mistaken false belief that the Emmy voters are really studying RuPaul's Drag Race and voting for truly the best reality show, when honestly it's been for 8 years clearly virtue signaling. They're just like, I don't know, whatever, click RuPaul, we like her. And the proof in the pudding is last year, what's his Scottish nuts won for Traitors?
Alan Cumming?
Alan Cumming, because again, that was just that year's. There was a replacement. We've done RuPaul for 8 years. We'll do Alan Cumming now, and we know him. We like him, and there you go. But I can see the producers thinking they need to up their Emmy game, but I don't think it's ever really mattered. Because what was the season with Candy Muse?
13.
13, and they submitted a horrible episode where she gets in the fight, the star quality and all that, right? Dude, you're saying the Emmy voters were like, this is peak television? Because the girl who made the sneakers, who was the one that made the sneakers and she was older?
Tamisha Iman.
Yes.
Oh man, that was a bad season.
Yes, and they won an Emmy.
But I will say, and just to loop it into the current season, I think that Candy Muse's Untuck Explosion is a similar flavor than Joella's Raging Delusion at the moment. Like, we're seeing a clearly insecure queen just try to convince desperately herself and others that she is that girl when it's very obvious she's the furthest thing from it.
I will say that one of the best moments I've seen in the last few seasons is when Joella took Lucky Star's hands and held them and looked directly into her eyes.
Yes.
And was like, I'm sending you home.
It was
amazing.
crazy boots.
But this is, you know what? We're going to pick this up after the break. We'll be back right after this. And we are back. And you know what? I'm going to use this opportunity because Jamila was a witness to this. I've talked about this before. There used to be a podcast where we had this upbeat music and I'd come in going like, ha, 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 right? Like that, right? And people never knew why I did that. And it was because, so Jamila was a producer on One-on-One with Larry Flick on Sirius XM Radio Channel 105, Entertainment Weekly. And which almost none of those things exist now. Channel 105 exists. That's about it. Right?
What is it now? Like NASCAR?
It's like some sort of like, yeah, something else. Anyway, but Larry would do this thing. We'd go to break. And they actually had an actual break. So the ads would be playing. And he'd be like talking to me or the other guests. And he'd be like, oh, man, I'm just sick of this fucking job. And I hate it. And I hate this fucking show. And I hate everything. And anyway, I would come back from the break. And then the music would play and be like, as if we just been having this like rollicking, hilarious conversation. Sometimes we did, actually. But that was always my favorite thing.
Say what you want about OutQ and Sirius XM and Larry Flick. There's a such thing as a showmanship
Oh yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen this that clip from the Katy Perry documentary where Russell Brand broke up with her through text. He asked for a divorce through text, and it was right before she was about to go on stage, and she's crying, like bawling her eyes out. And she has to go on stage, and she gets in that little elevator that's underneath the stage that's going to shoot her out. And she puts on her little candy cane titties, and she wipes her tears, and she puts on a smile, and then she just shoots out onto the stage. And it's like, you gotta.
I've told this story before. Same thing with Weird Al Yankovic. He found out his parents died tragically from
I remember that carbon monoxide
poisoning. Literally as he's walking on stage. And people were like, do you want to cancel? And he's like, no, I actually need this right now. I think he said it was one of his best shows he ever did.
Wow.
Yeah. It is weird that your parents are dead and you're singing like, eat it, instead of beat it. But
that's what they would have wanted.
They would have wanted him to sing, fat, I'm fat instead of bad. Or what was the one about
what was the like a virgin one? Like a surgeon.
It was like a surgeon.
Stupid.
Yeah.
I remember the Gangster's Paradise one, but I can't remember what it was called.
That was like Hasidic Jews, wasn't it? No,
yeah,
Amish. It was Amish Paradise.
That's right.
Yeah.
That went triple platinum in junior high, let me tell you.
Oh my God. Anyway, okay, so let's actually continue the conversation we were having, which was about Joella, about the delusion, about everything going on in the show. And this is what I talked about. Jamila hasn't heard the recap yet. What I was talking about was I've turned around so far. Look, next week they can totally disappoint me, but I felt that this episode, I want Robert to weigh in on this specifically. This episode was giving old school Drag Race, I'll say season 3 to cut down the middle, vibes. What do you think of that, Robert?
I think it's a bold statement. I think that you're right that the structure was there, the level of drama was there, the critiques were there, the delusion was definitely there, and the relative lack of skill.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a pretty good design challenge, I gotta say. Props to the producers for knowing, this talent show was a disaster, back and front. Rather than having these girls do an unconventional materials challenge and absolutely butcher it and then have 3 shit episodes in a row, let's give them some fabric and let them roll out with some actual quality garments. I thought that was well done. I don't think yet, though, that the girls have the gravitas to say that they're as interesting or compelling or fascinating as anyone from seasons 2 or 3. I see what you mean about a television show existing and this episode harkening back to the old times. I just don't think they have it yet. Maybe if it was a 45-minute episode, I might.
Okay.
Like I've said before, there would have been room for imagination, and therefore I might have thought it was more better than it was. But it was long. It still dragged. Thank God we didn't have to suffer through trauma porn. But even still, I'm checking my watch, and I'm like, are we getting along with this?
No, but even going to that, instead of usually they've been feeling elimination days with trauma porn, and this time it was a good old fashioned bitch fight about trimming on the dress.
Yeah,
but we'll get
on
to
the
that.
dress, the trim on the dress. Yes,
but let's get to this. Let's talk about Joella. That's who we were talking about. I have a few things that I brought up. One is that she claims to be an icon in the LA drag scene, and as they pointed out on Reddit, she's a Palm Springs drag queen. Do you agree, Robert, that she's not really an LA queen if she's, calling herself that, but she's a Palm Springs drag queen?
I think that most of the LA girls get booked in Palm Springs and Long Beach. So while the scenes do have their own distinct flavor, it's really one talent pool. It's just ridiculous that who are Joella's friends and what are they telling her?
Well, what did
she's
William
the
Hung's
premier
friend
Asian,
the Slasian diva of LA? My God, those people need to be imprisoned for gross negligence and lying.
I believe she's
Something's
a Slasian.
Slasian, yes.
Yeah. No, Jamila, I have a different question for you because I know you go on Reddit and whatnot. I saw in there that there are some people who are speculating that Joella is doing this whole delusion thing on purpose to sort of build a TV character, that she knows what she's doing, that she's very aware.
I think that it's all she has. I think her delusion and her personality is like, it's literally what is keeping her on TV, because it's like, we can talk about it. It's something that we can talk about. It's something that we can pick apart and laugh at. And, you know, there's like, all press is good press. Like, it's just something for us to talk about, because if she didn't have that, she'd have that terrible wig. that was so odd, such an odd choice.
Yeah.
And then she'd have bodysuits, and you know, it's just like, that's really, she makes me like Hormona Lisa. It's crazy, because at least Hormona Lisa in drag is polished, and I can't say the same about Joella. But also, I read a Reddit thread that was saying that, like, Joella is the queen in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, Lexi Love is from Louisville, Kentucky, but Joella goes out to these Midwestern cities and gets gigs at the big gay clubs in the Midwest, and people go nuts. They go crazy. So that probably has something to do with how much she feels herself. It's like, oh, you don't know. Come to Cincinnati, Ohio, and I am
really?
that girl, and I am that girl.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Robert, go ahead.
I remember clocking this about Joella during the Meet the Queens videos, where the standard question is, what would you do if a queen comes for you? And she just puffs herself up and she says all the desperate, like, unoriginal, oh, I'm just gonna tell a bitch to fix her mug and do all. It was sad cringe from the get. And I just I don't live yet the way I think most people are living for her, but there is no doubt she is the main character so far. So props to her. But I can't see a single other video of her performing at the Abbey or at Mickey's or God knows where. I can't see the goddamn drag queen 8 count again. I can't see the windmill arms. I can't see her half-assed little punches. I can't see her horrible dips, like almost as bad as Sam Stars in the talent show. Like, oh my God.
I don't know. Geneva Cars was pretty bad last season. I remember that. She did one that was basically like an old person trying to sit down.
Oh, no, I did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind with Geneva Carr. I don't know to whom you are referencing.
Okay, so let's talk about, I want to talk about a couple of key moments. One, as I talked about on the show, I was loving that opening act 1 after the non-elimination, after the badonkadonk. And the way Hormona Lisa strutted in front of the group, she was in the front, as if she feels like she won that challenge, even though she was eliminated, and by sheer producer manipulation, came back. And she wasn't even doing that thing where, like, often the winner will be the one sort of hosting the sort of kiki after. She was hosting. She's like, Lexi, Lexi, congrats. And what did you, I'm like, this girl has fucking balls on her. I love her. I'm like,
but
oh, she
Joe,
is delusional.
she's still here. Like, she can do that because she's still here, and she knows that, and that's what she was leading with, and that's the kind of delusion that I welcome.
Yes,
it's not mean spirited. It's just kind of, and even, you know what I liked about her, and why I say that I like this season is because when people were like, why are you here? Yeah. You shouldn't be here. Yeah. She was just kind of like, everybody's bothered. And I love that. And then also somebody else did that too. I forget who it was, but it was just kind of like, oh, Anya, when you know, she was being like, you know, taken apart. She was just kind of like, oh, the girls are mad. You know, it's this not giving into it, being higher, being a queen, really. And I love it.
Well, because, and I think that's kind of why I like, is what we're starting to see, I think, are the opening, you know, they've done the first 2 episodes, and RuPaul's talked about this before, is that everyone comes in trying to self-produce, and at a certain point, you just can't anymore. You know, the center cannot hold. And you're starting to see the little cracks, you know, the mirror is cracking, where you can tell the rage is seething just right there at the surface. And there's going to be an episode where Joella, Hormona Lisa, or both are just going to fucking just get it from somebody. Let's go into the Anya Nerve moment. Robert, did Anya Nerve steal it? I mean, she admitted she did. But, like, where do you fall on this?
Oh, she was in the wrong, for sure. but I didn't care. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a pretty big Anya fan, actually. I could have seen her winning the challenge. I don't. She did use a justification that I absolutely hate when people say shit like this. She's like, I didn't have to ask you for your materials when it was clear that Jules had claimed them, and it was just talking around the issue and not really. She could have just. I don't know what she should have done, honestly. But all I know is that she was definitely wrong, but that didn't stop me from being on her side in the argument.
Jamila?
Yeah. Yeah, she was I think at one point she even apologized, but then she like took it back. It was a very weird back and forth. But yeah, no, she was wrong, but at the same time, she's such a gem that she was right.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
If that makes any sense.
Jules lost me when her response was to regurgitate another Drag Race quote and say, you know, have your moment because you're not going to have very many more. And I'm like, so this is actually your moment. You're the one who started this altercation. Spit out something fucking original. This is the same girl who last episode said the far too oft repeated, where are the jokes? You know?
Oh, was it her that said that?
Yeah, which I guess she could kind of get a pass because she's in Trinity's drag family, but who really cares about that?
But don't you think Lux Noir London was really, I mean, she was really good in it because she would pull an obscure ass fucking quote that nobody fucking knew and like one Redditor knew, right? But Lux Noir London also spoke in Drag Race quotes.
And we read her for it.
Did we? I don't remember. I have no memory.
Well, we constantly said that Lux is just all she does is reference. She references fashion. She references Rue stuff. She references other queens. The girl was the harbinger of all these, like Lana Jarre. Nothing original except her kitty cat Gouda.
I would say that if I was a drag daughter, you wouldn't know it. You might know it in my Meet the Queens, but like other than that, you're just not going to know it. Or if there's a through line, it's a very like I would love, this is never going to happen, but I would love to be Naomi Smalls like in her family because she's my favorite. But like if I was on Drag Race, you would not know it. You would just be like, oh wow, she's like showing a lot of leg and she's beautiful and she's like the clearly the fashion queen and she's funny. Like Naomi Smalls, but other than that, that's all you're gonna get. I'm not referencing my family all the time.
Robert's an encyclopedia of Drag Race. Is there anybody that fulfills that, Robert?
Well, even Naomi Smalls at the time sort of considered Raven her drag mother. I don't think it was a direct one-to-one normal type of relationship, but she never really talked about that until she did that homage look of Raven's finale look from season 2 during the black and white runway. So even within this exact conversation, I think we talked about it.
So is RuPaul then, by what you just said, Naomi Smalls' drag daughter because she straight up ripped off Naomi's book ball look?
That was a ripoff, that's for sure.
I mean,
which look?
The season 9 promo look. It had the same explosive, paper-esque appearance as Naomi's book ball look.
Oh.
There was this TikTok creator who I posted this on the Discord, did one TikTok that pretty much summed up all of Rulaska thoughts in one TikTok. I don't know if you saw this, Robert. But one of the things he did mention was, like you do, Robert, that how young the girls are. But he was talking about how they don't bring anything. He talked about other young drag queens who have brought stuff. He mentions Aquaria. He's like, Aquaria was super young and she was avant-garde. Not avant-garde, but necessarily she brought it. She knew the references. She was able to fashion forward. Are you willing to look back on your young thing? Do you what are your where you and Jamila? I'm going to want to hear what you think about this cast being too young. But Robert, go ahead and answer that.
It's funny that you mentioned Aquaria specifically because I think the way a lot of the fan base felt at the beginning of season 10 that it was very much like, oh, who's this cocky little twink coming in and pretending to rule the scene? But by the time of Snatch Game and that amazing Melania Trump and her quick wit, I was sold, and she very much shut my dumb ass up. So I am definitely happy and willing for any of these young girls to do the same. I just really doubt it.
You know what? And this also hits Jamila's point, which we forget that she's Sharon Needles' drag daughter.
Oh.
And I see,
That is true.
now that you say it, I
Yeah.
see it. But that's exactly the kind of drag queen I would want to be, or drag daughter I'd want to be. Is like, if you bring it up, I can see it, but completely different identity. And I think, like, speaking on the fact that they're so young, I think a lot of time I saw another video, like, those YouTube videos where it's like they'll have like a group of people and they're like, which one is the straight one? And somebody has to guess. There was a video of Joella on, it was like, which one of these drag queens is like not a real drag queen? And at the beginning of the video, they went around and they asked, like, how long have you been doing drag to each drag queen? And Joella said she had been doing drag for 3 years. And I think this video may be only like a year old. And so I think a lot of time there's a lot of drag queens who have been doing drag for not that long. And they're doing it with their final, like, their top of their mountain is RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah.
And I think what we're missing are the people who have been doing drag forever. And, it's definitely Drag Race is a platform to more money, more opportunities. But if they never got on it, they'd be doing drag till they died. And I think that's also what makes people, I mean, she's like, I'm 30, I'm so old. And I feel like, God damn, girl, please stop saying that. But I think that's
Jamila.
what makes... What?
Robert says that every week.
Oh my God! Stop. You gotta stop. That's making me feel real.
I'm old because
I'm sensitive.
I want to be
I'm
old.
sensitive. I'm sensitive. It makes me feel so bad every time she says it. But I do think that's what makes, what's her name? See, I'm terrible at names. Lexi Love. That's what makes Lexi Love so interesting. Is because she's more seasoned. Like, she's been here. She doesn't have to rely. She's like, I feel like a lot of the queens are like, they're referencing the show a lot because that's the reason that they're there. They're like, I have been living, I started this because of the show. I'm only doing it really so I could hit this point. And it's boring to watch.
10,000%.
Yeah, the show's become a reflection of a reflection. It's supposed to reflect drag queens, and now it's drag queens reflecting the show back to the show. Any other big thoughts on this episode, Robert? Anything that crossed your mind when you were watching it, or...
So I don't take notes for Rulaska Thoughts, whereas I do take notes if I'm on recap. So this is really just top of mind.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hormona, Jules, Anya. Oh, did you notice that moment during the runway when they had the bottom three and RuPaul gives the pun to Corey King and she falls out. She has a fabulous time with it.
Cheap.
Yes, cheap for the Big Bird thing. And then it switches to Joella and she gets the pun and she's just cold and there's dead air and they just like it's probably like 2 whole beats. I'm like, do something, bitch. Do something.
Yeah.
And then I think I could totally be wrong, but I feel like that's when Ru said, yeah, you're gonna be in the bottom 2 because you didn't give me shit, whereas Corey did volley with me, or at least engage.
Really? Because I felt from the get that Corey was just thrown in the mix because they needed a bottom 3. I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think it was like bottom 2 worthy. I could be wrong though. What do I know? I wear a black shirt and
it was pretty bad,
day.
but also I feel like she's not giving variety, and I feel like we need something different from her, but she does bring personality, and I think that Ru does. I think even when a lip sync is close, I think Ru is like, who do I want to keep seeing? I think that's the ultimate determination. And I think that's why she kept line Hormona Lisa.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, she wants to see what else she has,
I think really Ru just wants to keep mentioning her book tour, and that's why she keeps Hormona around.
I just think that they keep Hormona and Joella because they make good TV.
I mean, Joella told Hormona to fix her mug.
Yes. Joella said that to Hormona.
I
love that moment. I love that. Oh, wait, you were saying, I think I'm just off the air, on the air, Jamila, but you were saying that you loved Lana Jarre, especially in this episode. Was it because of this whole, like...
Yes, it was because of the whole... was it Joella? Joella was the one who was like, oh yeah, your song wasn't that great. When her song was just like, I mean, just where is this coming from? One, why are you telling me this? Like, you could have kept that. But two, also, your performance wasn't that great either. You're lucky that there's 14 people here and that there was worse performances because you would have been in the bottom. So, but I felt like, it was great to also in the Untucked be like, this is karma, because like now you're in the bottom. I love seeing the way that all plays out, and I also love seeing how I had never seen this because like I said, I started watching after All Stars 2, but I had seen somewhere on social media, someone posted a clip of an Untucked with Bob the Drag Queen, Derek Barry, and Acid Betty, where Acid Betty was talking shit about Trixie Mattel's makeup, and Derek Barry stood up and was just like, why are you doing this? Like, why? Like, what is the point of doing this? And Bob the Drag Queen was like, you're making me agree with Derek Barry, and I don't like it. But it's just a great callback to how, like, when you're just negative, when you're just a negative bitch, it really works out on this show.
Okay, I want to call. I want to call two things out. One, I love that Jamila is currently watching the season and can't remember anybody's name, but knew everybody in a scene of a season she never watched. One.
From a YouTube Untucked.
From a YouTube video. Two,
when it was
Robert,
all that sad realism era.
Robert,
Remember
you
that?
went to the season 8 reunion, didn't you?
Yeah.
So you were there as well. I was there, Jamila, at the season 8 reunion. Okay.
Going to a reunion is like, it's like wanting to go to the Super Bowl. Like, I want to go to the reunion so bad.
On hour 6, I don't know if you really feel that way, but
I loved it because that was the one that they had all the previous winners there.
yeah,
It
was great.
Wait, you're saying like reunion or the finale?
Well, finale.
Right?
The finale.
Yes.
They call it a reunion on the show.
Okay.
So, but in that episode, they cut it, and can't believe it's so horrible television editing, but they did that thing where they take questions from the audience, and Acid Betty came up and asked Trixie about her makeup, right? From a fan question. And the moment was very, very tense and quiet for a long time. But on the show, they cut it down and made it seem not as tense. Or did they even show it, Robert? I don't remember.
They showed it. It was the opposite, though. Trixie came up to ask Acid during her interview segment, what did you have to say about my makeup? And something about you'll be outside in the parking lot selling your T-shirts. It was flimsy.
It was still awkward, Jamila. It was awkward. I was like...
No, it was definitely awkward.
If I knew Robert Mata was here, I would be...
But if I never watched Drag Race...
Yeah.
There's a big chance I would know who Trixie Mattel is, and a very low chance that I would know who Acid Betty is. So...
Have you seen season 7 by chance?
Season 7? Who was on season... Was that their season?
Trixie.
No, I haven't. I haven't gone back and watched.
I mean, it's definitely the worst of the first 10 seasons, the early days. But in retrospect, the cast has done such incredible things and become such fixtures that it's just like, as a historical document, season 7 is
that
worth
is what
viewing.
they fired the producer. They fired the whole team right after that season, and you can see why, because the cast is just heavy hitters, almost all of them. And except for this, who's the one with the Work That Puss?
Oh my God.
Jaden Dior
that would
Fierce.
be Jaden Dior Fierce, who is a lovely person, by the way.
Oh, by the way, Jamila, you're going to be really...
But my question still stands. Is Acid Betty like doing...
No, she's kind
things?
of... No, she's
exactly
being mean to people in New York.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. There's just something
gig.
about a mean queen. Like, I really didn't live for... Last season, what's her name?
Plain Jane.
Burger Finger? Plain Jane. Yeah, I just don't live for mean queens.
Well, then you're on a show with Robert. But let me tell you something.
I live for mean queens when they're good at being mean. I don't live for mean queens with just bad energy and can't string a sentence together.
Did you know, Jamila, that Robert smoked a J with Jasmine Masters?
my crowning achievement.
Oh my gosh, my dream blunt rotation is Jasmine Masters in Georges.
Oh, sweet Georgie.
Oh, that's right.
I would love it.
Let me tell you this. That's not my dream with Georges. Anyway,
we don't want to hear it anymore.
It involves one of the names of Lydia B. Collins.
Lydia Collins, yes. Exactly.
I won't say which name.
Beho.
Mr. Collins. I'll be calling her. Anyway,
Did you think that Samstar should have won? I'm just going to ask because I have an opinion and I want to tell.
No, Arietti won that the whole way. What is your opinion, Robert?
Well, I wanted Jamila to answer too first.
Well, what did Arietti wear? What was her thing?
What was a red, opulent, kind of like Mexican in space.
It was beautiful.
Hold on, I think I actually have it. Hold on. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, it was beautiful. I just think Samstar, well, first of all, we have to ask where she was on January 6th. But
we know. We don't have to ask.
But beyond that, I thought she looked beautiful. I thought the blue was that was gorgeous. That was gorgeous. Okay, on second thought, that was gorgeous. I think the blue might have just been just a more standout color. I mean, it's really splitting hairs. I think she looks beautiful. She definitely.
I think white is a standout color.
The contrast. Yeah. The contrast. No, I think I think she definitely could have won. God, now that I look at it again, I'm like, oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah, no, Arietti should have won flat out. Obviously, me being me, I don't love when white mediocrity wins over Latina excellence. And I don't even like Arietti, actually. Like, all of her confessionals are like nasty boots. I love saying boots today. And like Chismosa Corner, I'm like, damn it, girls. Why do you have to be like this? Yeah. Why do you have to make our people so vicious? But
there was no cheese
even still. I have several bones to pick with Sam Starr, and she has not changed my opinion of her at all. But when she got all sneery and said, "This isn't blue, this is cerulean," like, the bitch needs to take a color theory class because that's very clearly cobalt.
Yeah,
get into it, girl. That's not cerulean.
Blue. Cerulean is like a borderline like teal.
Yes, it's like. I mean, I know it because of Pokemon naturally, but it was cobalt blue. Dumb bitch. Ugh.
Jamila, where can we find you?
In my house.
That's
in
cozy.
Atlanta.
Well, your Instagram is hi. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Got it. I get the question now. My Instagram is hi. I'm Jamila, HIGH_IM_Jamila. And I have a website, hihowareyu.com. That's HIGH, howareyu.com. It's a cannabis blog. Yeah, I'm still blogging. Still doing. I think blogs are going to come back. Mm-hmm. And also, when I started the blog in 2017, I was like, one day I'm going to rival High Times. And High Times isn't even a thing anymore. It's done. So I am the number. Yeah, I won. I am the number one. I am the number one destination for cannabis culture online. So check it out.
Robert,
I love Camino gummies so much. Not to give them a shout out. Ooh, they are everything. They're the drag of the weed community.
You know drag who queens. I kind of liked, and I don't know if they're still around. I talked to the owner for a bit, trying to get him to advertise on the show. Was his Dadgrass? Are they still around?
I don't know.
Dadgrass.
Oh, I just really liked their marketing. They made it just seem like 1970s. What it was their whole premise was that weed nowadays is too strong. Mm-hmm. So it was basically a much weaker strain. And they packaged it like 1970s, like almost kind of illicit, like where you would hide your weed kind of stuff. And it's called Dadgrass. I don't know whatever happened to them.
I tried some Dadgrass. I don't really like getting stoned anymore.
What?
I mean, I'll still indulge, but like it's kind of I liken it to like getting a very, very light buzz with drinks, but with weed.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to get drunk. I just want to feel a very little bit.
I can see that. Yeah, I started dry vaping, which helps me achieve that.
Wait, what's dry vaping?
Dry vaping, if you take a dry vape, it's basically you take flour and you put it in the vape, and then there's just like a little incinerator in it, and so you're I don't even know how it works. I'm not a mechanic, but
the combustion. I had a PAX that did that. It was very bulky.
Yes, exactly. It's like a PAX. It basically PAX is dry vaping. Yeah.
There you go. Well, we're gonna call it a day there. We're all gonna go smoke some weed. We're gonna go smoke a J with Jasmine.
Smoke
Masters.
some weed.
Yeah.
And love all my friends.
Happy MLK Day, guys.
And I'm glad that's what we're focusing on and not anything else. All right, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye. I really am about to get high.